Good morning, everybody. Well, I'm heading back home from flying the drone in Austin. What I decided to do was go to Zucker Park and recreate this photo that I had taken of myself years ago. Now, this is one of my favorite photos of me, probably because you can't see me, but that has nothing to do with it. It's primarily because of the skyline. I remember when I first took this picture, I think it was with the Air 2S, and I was just amazed by how beautiful the skyline was. And so I wanted to pose with it. And being back, what, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years later, looking at the skyline and how much it's changed has been pretty crazy. And that is one thing that today was just a big, big reminder. Like, it's been years since I've been flying drones and since I've been doing this videography thing, and how so much has changed, including myself. And at times we don't see the change, right? Like, we don't see the progress that is happening until we reflect or we look back or whatever it is. And that was the one thing that was sticking out to me was like, man, how often do we stop ourselves from doing things because we don't know what the outcome is going to be, or at times that mountain looks too big to climb, and so because it looks too big it's scary, and because it's scary we choose not to climb it. And I think that's one thing that has helped me grow in my business is doing the mundane things, doing the things that may not even be hard, but are just boring, right? Like editing or making sure that the sound is right, or like yesterday we were talking about the reflector, right? These little things, and making sure that the ins and outs of your business are strong. One of the things that I always run into when I deal with clients or other photographers and videographers is, to me, seeing the city grow the last few years and just kind of like comparing what the skyline looked like when I first visited Austin, when I first started living in Austin, even 5, 6 years ago before the pandemic, all that kind of stuff. Like, the growth, the boom economically, and all that kind of stuff that has happened in Austin specifically. Like, I don't think people were ready for it. I don't think a lot of people were prepared for it. But again, to me, this is such a great metaphor for life and for business. Like, Rome was not built in a day, true, but Rome also did not fall. There it is. Okay. You often hear people say Rome wasn't built in a day, which is very, very true, right? It took a long time for it to be the powerhouse that it was. But at the same time, Rome wasn't destroyed in a day. It did not collapse in a day. It took years for that to happen. And one of the things that I think we do often as entrepreneurs and business owners and creatives is we put off the things that we know we should be doing. We put off the work that seems difficult or seems boring, rather than just getting it done, rather than just doing what needs to be done. That's one of the things that I pride myself on so often, is doing the dirty work, doing the work that other people don't want to do. Because at the end of the day, I understand that that's where a lot of growth comes from, is looking at a task, however big or however small it is, and taking on that task bite by bite by bite, right? Little bite here. And it's not all done in a day. I think that's, something that I hear from beginner videographers, beginner photographers, beginner content creators, beginner entrepreneurs, is like, when is my business finally gonna make me an income, or when am I going to be known, or when is my account gonna grow, when am I gonna bring on more clients? And to me, I laugh at it sometimes, because we think that sometimes, oh, well, look, I got that new camera, or look, I got that dope setup, I got that new lens, or, I got my logo done, I built my website. Why aren't things happening? Rather than understanding, like, things happen one day at a time. There's no such thing as an overnight success. I often look at, a lot of people who are now famous, whether it's podcasters, comedians, authors, actors, whatever it is. And so many people tend to think that they're an overnight success, rather than looking at the years and decades of the work that they've been putting in. Like, we need to realize that things aren't going to happen overnight, and that's okay. Things take time, and that's okay. more than anything, some of the best things in life take a long time to grow. Certain things like trees and plants and all this kind of stuff, or economies. Again, you look at a place like Austin, and I remember when Austin back in the 90s was making commercials and doing all these things. I think it was either late 80s, early 90s, something like that. Like they would run commercials and they were investing in making Austin the place to go. And for the longest time, Austin was just seen as a little city. It was just a small town that the hippies lived in. And as the years and the decades have gone by, Austin has now become a powerhouse, right? It's competing with places like New York and California. It's bringing way more audience and crowds. And like I said, the infrastructure of Austin probably wasn't ready for all this because it just started happening in a snowball effect quicker than people were expecting. I think the pandemic had a huge thing to do with that. But we think to ourselves, like, hey, just because I speak it into the universe, just because I say it, or just because I believe it, or just because I'm making the moves to get there, that I'm going to get there faster. Man, it's not going to be like that all the time. Sometimes what really needs to happen is you need to backtrack, right? There's one of my favorite analogies is there's a story of this guy who was digging for gold, and he was digging and digging for days and days and days, and he was not able to find the gold and just kind of gave up. And so when he was giving up, he saw this person, walking, and he was like, hey, I'll sell you my pitch axe, I'll sell you my bucket, and I'll sell you this stuff. I was digging for gold, I didn't find it. If you want to keep digging, it's over there, right? The guy bought it from him, and then a few days or a few hours later, whatever, however the story goes, the person strikes gold and gets all of this money. And what's the takeaway from that story? What's the message? Well, this guy was that close to hitting the gold. He was that close to making his dreams come true. He was that close to making the goal that he set out for himself, but he was impatient. He thought he was going to have it right away. He was like, okay, day one, wrap, but you know what? Day two, and day two came, day three came, week four, whatever, however long it's going to take you for you to build your business and for you to make your dreams come true, it's going to take that long.
Well, my phone ended up dying, but now we're packing for our trip to Sky, Texas, because we're gonna be going out there for the Fourth of July weekend, which is gonna be awesome. But to continue what I was saying, one of the things that I've kind of seen with a lot of creators and a lot of people in this space is that they feel like once they buy that new camera, once they, you know, get that new setup or meet that new client or get that big gig that they've been hoping for, like they think that's going to be the thing that catapults them. Like they think, okay, now that I've hit this part, that means everything else is coming, but they don't, one, put in the work after that, or two, they're impatient. Like they think it's just gonna come rolling in, right? Because people at times are so used to going viral and they see, oh, somebody went viral and they got famous and they got this and they got that. And one of the things I've learned, especially just from my past in being a content creator and an influencer and all that kind of stuff, is that just because you blow up on social or just because your account has moments of growth, it doesn't mean that that's gonna be all the time. And also, you need to learn how to use that to your advantage. And that's one of the things that I struggled with was learning how to do that, because after I had a platform, it was like, okay, well, what do I do with it now, right? And I did nothing with it. And then I ended up working with a company and kind of forgot about my social media. And now trying to build it back, the biggest thing that I've been learning is being patient with myself, being patient with my art, being patient with the things that I do. And at the same time, I don't really need social media at this point. Like we're doing really good with our clients. We've been really busy and things have been going really well. And so the one thing that I've been trying to figure out in the midst of all this is how do I use my platform to get the clients that I want to get, right? So one of the funniest things is, before, I would get I would get about thousands and thousands of views, almost millions of views on the stuff that I was putting out, but I wasn't making any money off of that. Like Instagram, I think the most I ever made on Instagram from posting content was like $100 or something like that. So when I look at that, it's like, I need to get better at learning how to use my social media, but at the same time, I need to be patient with my audience, with my growth, because the growth that came fast, it wasn't really meaningful. There wasn't anything there. There was no substance. It was just people wanting to follow for the videos I was posting because it was just pretty stuff of Austin or photos. But now I'm trying to think to myself, like, how do I make an actual impact? I want to focus more on my art, on my content. I want to be more intentional with the things that I'm putting out. Like I said, like these, series of, like, talking to the camera, sharing information, because then when I do get to meet people, especially other business owners, other content creators, other videographers, they tend to ask me, you know, how do I do this and what do I do with that and all these kind of questions. And it's like, man, like, you are probably just one out of 50 or 100 or 1,000 people that have that question. I need to be better at articulating this, one, and two, I need to film this stuff and talk about it in front of the camera so that other people can learn about it. Not saying I'm the only one, but at the end of the day, I think, when you look at different people in different niches, or when you look at different creators who are now big, a lot of them didn't document their growth. A lot of them didn't document, the ins and out and how to run the business. And that's kind of what I want to do, but it's also difficult, because, like I said, by the time you knew it today, we woke up, ate breakfast, we got to finish doing editing, we got to finish packing, we got to get the car ready, we got to get the kids ready. Like, we run our household and run our business, run our marriage and our kids. Still, I still have time for, like, there's so many things that are going on where at times I let content fall by the wayside. And I think lately I've just been trying to say, like, hey, quit with the excuses. Um, just film it and post it. And that's probably what this video is going to be, something where it's just filmed and posted, me packing my gear, right? Because it's like, at times I don't even have time to film stuff. But at the end of the day, I know that this is a goal that I have for myself. This is something that I want to do. This is something that I want to pursue. And if it is a real thing that I want to do, well, then I need to put in the time. I need to put in the effort. I need to, make it a.
I locked the gate and then it was open.
Oh, yeah, I know. I forgot.
I locked the gate and then I turned the car around.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to put the thing up and start packing that up as well. Super hot. I know. Just shutting everything down and starting to get ready for being gone for 10 days. I'm just double checking what I need to do or what I need to get ready for the most part. I have everything packed. Memory cards are clean. Lenses, drone, batteries, that's charged. I'm bringing my tripod, cords, chargers.
Your controller.
Got that.
Cards for that.
All the memory cards have more than enough space. I'm bringing the laptop and some terabytes. And that right there is a normal interaction with my wife. Is how are the kids doing? How the business doing? How are we doing? All right, everything's locked in. Let's go. Again, that's another thing that a lot of people do ask us about, is like, how do you guys not just run a business together, but how do you guys run your marriage together when, we're, because my wife and I, we've worked together since we've met each other. We met each other at Starbucks, and so we've always been coworkers. And so it's kind of a part of our DNA, being able to work together, run a business together, and run a family together. And I think that's something that people struggle with because they don't have that kind of chemistry or that kind of like I said, that's how we met, and I'm thankful for that. Um, but that's usually a normal conversation with my wife. Usually it's either at the dinner table. Usually I'm bolting out of the office and telling her some stuff. Um, but yeah, man, and like I said, I think being patient with yourself, being patient with your art, with your creativity, is something that we all need to learn nowadays, because we're very impatient with those things. Because again, we think success is going to happen right away, and it's not, and it doesn't. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more thankful I am that success, for me, has been a slow roll. because sometimes I think it's like, man, you look at these celebrities and you look at these people who get rich and famous, and they're like teenagers, and they, waste all their money, or they waste, their relevancy, or they get famous for the wrong reasons. And sometimes I think to myself, like, man, I don't want that for me. And so I'm thankful that I have my wife at the corner. Like I said, it is, I think that's another important thing when you are looking to start your own business. It's like finding a good business partner. And I'm thankful that she's not just my business partner, but my life partner. And so when things are going well with us, we're able to talk about it. We're able to reflect on it. When things are going bad, it's like we don't avoid it. We talk about it. Same thing with our business and everything else. So, and that was something that was a decision I made after I had my car accident. Was what would happen if I wasn't here anymore? What would happen, or what happens when I do pass away, right? Have I set them up for living a life without me, or am I the one that they need to survive on, right? And I believe that, hey, yeah, it's the man's role to provide. It's the man's role to do these things and lead and do all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's also the man's role to make sure that if anything were to happen, your family is set, you guys are secure. And so when we went from a video business to a video agency, that was like the main thrust of saying, like, I never want to put my family in a position where if anything were to happen to me, like they're left out to dry. Right? Of course, we have family, we have friends, all that kind of stuff. People take them in, yes. But what I'm saying is, priorities. We all need to get our priorities straight, and that even goes with our business. What is your priority in your business? Huh?
Oh,
Yeah, that's fine.
we'll have to drop off those library books on the way out.
Oh, yeah.
But we go that direction, so we'll just drop them off really quick.
Okay. Do we need to get anything? HEB?
No, I have
No.
food for us, so we'll be okay.
Got it. All right, packing up the laptop. Boom. Um, but yeah, man. It's like I said, sometimes we. What was I? But yeah, like I said, being patient with ourselves in our creativity, in our art, in the things that we do, like understanding that things take time, and not just things, but the best things in life take time, right? You don't want something to just uh, uh, come quickly because you don't appreciate it, right? And so that's kind of one thing I've been thinking too is, I'm glad that whatever success we have in our life, it is coming slowly, and it is coming it's flourishing, it's happening. Of course, we would always want it to be faster, but at the end of the day, it's like I would rather have long lasting success that was a slow build rather than a short successful career that happened quickly. And you see that a lot in social media, you see that a lot in you know um, in our modern age, because people will do the wildest things to go viral. People will, embarrass themselves just to get recognition and popularity. And I think at the end of the day, we need to question, like, what's more important, our integrity or a paycheck, right? What's more important, the legacy that we're leaving behind, or being famous? And so for me, the last couple years has been filled with just like these realizations, one of having a momentary life, but two, with that momentary life we're able to leave a long lasting legacy. And so what that long lasting legacy should ultimately be or mean is that you are handing off the reins, you're passing the torch on to your kids, to your offspring, to your family, and you're also leaving behind instructions. You're also leaving behind like a how-to, right? I think that's also why I like talking so much, or I like, you know burying my heart out, especially again to my wife and stuff, because if anything were to happen, she's the best source of who I am, right? And so if I can, you know pour some of me into her and let her And it's again, it's symbiotic, right? She does the same thing with me, I do with her. That's what marriage is. It's you two becoming one, so that if anything were to happen to either one of us, the other person is a good reflection of you. But are you reflecting the best part of you to them, right? So for me, it's like I want to make sure that whatever knowledge I have in business, in finances, in art, culture, theology, life in general, like I need to help her with that. I need to put that on her so that if anything were to happen to me, she knows how to navigate things the way I would navigate things, and vice versa, right? The way that she runs the home, the way that she runs our business, the way that she manages things with clients, all that kind of stuff. We talk about that. So again, like if she had an issue, I would be able to, help out in any way, shape, or form. And so, going back to just like I said, in the car, these are things that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that photo was actually 6 years ago. So 6 years ago, I wasn't even thinking about this stuff. I could never even think about having my own business being successful. And now we're packing to film with our client who has a gorgeous resort. And I can't wait to show it to you guys because it's going to be an awesome weekend. We've been pushing a lot of their marketing, a lot of their ads, a lot of their promotions. And the property from the last conversation I had is packed. So I'm so excited for that. But we do got to get going. So I think this is going to be the wrap of the video. Sorry that this one seems so rushed and chaotic, but this is the life of a video business owner with a wife and kids, and how we manage our lives. And it's not pretty a lot of the times, but we get to live this life that we enjoy. We get to spend so much time together because of the sacrifices that I chose to make, that my wife chose to make, that we choose to make together for our kids. And so if you're in a position of having that, right, if you have a passion of saying like, hey man, like I want to work with my spouse, or there's an ability for me to start my business and make a side income, just do it. Like, don't be afraid. Understand it's going to take time. Understand that it's going to be hard. Understand that it's not going to happen right away, but don't give up, right? Continue to dig until you get to the gold. You don't know when the gold is going to come. You don't know when the gold is going to appear itself to you, but you have to have the confidence that you're right in the decision you're making, and you just got to keep digging. So don't give up. Keep going, keep pushing, persevere, be the kind of person that you know that you could be. And if you don't know what kind of person that is, well, that's why you watch videos like this. That's why you look for inspiration in other people, so that you can have some sort of caricature or some sort of outline or blueprint to say, I don't know what I really want, but I would like to have a life where I can not worry about clocking in, not worry about, making below minimum wage, worry about not having vacations and all this kind of stuff. Like, if you make the right decision in your life to pursue the life you want, you will also share it with others and share that joy with others. So don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your goals. And again, I will see y'all tomorrow, and we will be in Sky, Texas. So I'm excited for y'all to see that property. Until then, peace out.